Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division show. Another great week of Premier Division action. JP's with me again today. JP, how are you?
Hi, all good.
Good stuff. As you mentioned before we came on, I'm wearing the Waterford top as a form of apology after predicting Dundalk would win 1-0 at the RSC. I got the one for Dundalk right, but unfortunately for me, in terms of predictions, Waterford got four. Thanks, Asamoah, by the way. Derry City beat Bohemians 1-0 at the Brandywell. Duffy's goal in 85 minutes. He did well, actually, to react to a shot that was that by him that actually came out, and he actually smashed it home with his right foot. But Bowles had chances in this one at nil all, didn't they, JP? Akintunde hits the bar, missed an absolute sitter, in my opinion. And Keisha missed a great chance as well. Is it a result that Derry got a little bit fortunate or maybe grounded out, do you think? It's obviously 3 points. It keeps them second, a point behind Shells.
I wasn't at the game. I had all things on, but um, if all I was saying it was a more result that Derry ground out rather than lucky to get. So, um, and I've seen a few people saying that as well. I've also seen people saying that the introduction of Duffy, Diallo, and McElhenney turned the game in Derry's favour, and for the first time in a long time, probably the Pats game early on in the season where you could smell that there was probably going to be a winner coming, and that's what happened. And it comes from a Bohemians goal kick,
Mm.
and they take it out and they get the ball and they move it fast into Duffy, and he does well. He's
Mm.
three men around him, and he reacts well. Then when it comes back to him, he just hits it near post, and the power takes it past the keeper. Um, Derry will be absolutely delighted because they were hit with a sucker punch on Monday night. At home to Shelbourne, and they'll be absolutely delighted. They land one of their own. Um, this time, especially with Shamrock Rovers drawing and Shelbourne drawing, they've managed to take advantage. And I think it's something that teams, not just Derry, but our teams throughout the league have failed to do this year on the teams around them. And you've seen Derry taking advantage and Waterford taking advantage of our teams as well. So um, Derry will be absolutely delighted. It's five unbeaten now since they lost to Shamrock Rovers. It's three wins, two draws. I think it's I think there's definitely two clean sheets in there.
Yeah.
Waterford away, Bohemians at home. Yeah, so there's two clean sheets in there, three wins, and two draws, and um, I think they've only conceded there's two goals in that time frame as well, and we had been leaking
Mm.
quite a few goals up to that point. So look, Derry will be delighted with it. They'll be looking. There's a big double header now coming up this weekend, both away in Dublin, Pats on Friday and Shamrock Rovers on Monday. Um, so it was crucial that they got the 3 points there, and they were looking to build upon this now, and really start like they're starting to get players back. I looked at the bench the other night, and I think it's probably the strongest bench we've had all
I think
season.
only Dummigan and Whelan are out still. Correct me if I'm wrong in
Yeah,
terms of injured.
Whelan and Dummigan. Yeah, I know Mark Conley went off on Friday night at half time. Maybe it was that precautionary. I think Patchen went off, was substituted. I'm not sure if he went off injured or was taken off
Mm.
just to um try and see the game out of it. I'm not too sure on that because, as I said, it wasn't at the game. But if Derry can get their squad, the two key players I think is McElhenney, Patrick McElhenney, and Michael Duffy. If you get both of them on the pitch at the same time, and I know Patrick has injury problems, and hopefully he can get a run of games now, and hopefully that coincides with Derry being able to put results together. But for both, they'll be disappointed. Like they did have chances. They hit the post. Akintunde's missed a sitter. I don't know how he's missed it. I'm looking back at it and I'm thinking, does he just spot the defender running in front of him as he lifts his head? They strike it and it puts him off completely. I don't know. Then there's another chance. I think the second half.
Keisha, yeah.
So Derry could have been essentially 3-0 down. But they weren't. They held on. They kept it out at the back, and thankfully Duffy was at the other end. They get the winning goal, but I think Alan Reynolds called it last week for Bohemians. he was calling the players out basically and saying more or less saying them, giving them an ultimatum that start to get results or else they could be out the door come July. And
Mm.
um, I think it's is that I'm not sure. I think they won three in a row and they
They've
haven't
one
won.
point now in their last 12, the last 12 points. So 1 point in
Yeah,
four.
and that's coming off the back of three
Mm.
wins in 7 days. And you thought
Mm.
there they'd turned the corner, but now they're gone back. They what they were before, and that point is was the point at home they Shamrock Rovers.
Mm.
So
Mm.
they're a bit disappointed that they haven't kicked on from like they beat Shelbourne, beat
I think one
Dundalk,
notable thing from
or
Bows,
Drogheda.
JP, which is interesting, is that James Clark has only played two of the last 5 games, started, sorry, for some reason. Which seems a little bit odd to me because he's their talisman in the middle of the park. And we often say if you stop James Clark, you stop Bows.
Mm.
And even if he wasn't playing particularly well, I don't think his form has fell off so badly that it warrants him, going to the bench for 3 games out of 5, let's say. You know what I mean?
No, no, I think when you've got a player like that, as you say, like he's the talisman. Early on when they in the season, maybe when Divine was there, I think the Sligo game in the first game of the season, he was the reason why they ended up with a point from that game. Um, I think you don't know what's happening in training either. You don't know what's
Mhm.
happening behind the scenes, and maybe as a carrying a knock, and Reynolds is just keeping him
Mhm.
available on the bench for if he needs him.
That was
You
my
don't
thought, but when you find it hard to find anything on it, like it's hard to say that then, isn't it? But that was my thought. I was thinking surely, but I don't know.
you don't know, and look, they've got other players there as well.
Mm.
Dylan Conley, who's won league titles with Dundalk, played in Europe, been across the England. Um, should be looking at players like that. I think they've Jordan Flores there as well.
Mm.
They've plenty of quality within their team. Um, it's just about trying to get the right balance, and I think the quality that they have is not backed up with quality in other areas, and I think that's where they're struggling. And I'm not sure what James Talbot's situation is. I know he was on the bench again on Friday night. I think
Mm.
he was on the bench against Derry and Dalymount, but I'm not sure if he's been on the bench ever since.
To be
And I'm
fair to
thinking,
Tereska, though, I have to say he's done well, apart from that error a couple of games ago. But he has done well, so I suppose it's very hard to drop him in that circumstance. But James Tobin, just checking here, yeah, he was on the bench actually against Derry. Yeah.
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if Reynolds eventually introduces him back to starting 11. And I think
Mm.
that's where the League Cup would have came into play. We no longer have that, where you're trying to bring players back in, especially your injured players. You're giving them game time and that. We don't have that anymore. Where if we had had that, um, Talbot probably comes in, plays that, and then maybe maintains his spot. But like I don't, as you said, I don't think the keeper's done much wrong. Made an error. I think was it the Galway game or Waterford game. That
Yeah.
cost them the
Galway.
thief
Yeah.
cost them a thief or cost them something out of the game. But I think it would be very harsh if you're going to drop him after one mistake. So it would absolutely wreck his confidence. But it's good to see James Talbot back. Um, and back in the fold. And but I think Bohemians they have a lot of work. They have a lot of work to do in the July window because I think they're an up and down team at the minute. Like as I said, they touched on the 3 wins in 7 days, and it's no wins in four since that. And they'll probably pick up a win now this weekend and go on another couple of games. And then it's I think Reynolds at this point is just trying to get the team over the next 5 6 weeks. They try and do a bit of surgery on it.
Yeah. It finished Galway United nil, Sligo Rovers nil, Eamon DC Park, and they're fifth 0-0 this season, JP. Fifth in the league though, Galway. To be fair, do you know what? They had some good chances though in this game. In fairness though, like Stephen Walsh had two great chances which he could have scored. Certainly should have scored from one. And Morris Nugent actually hits the bar too. Um, so they had the most of the running in the game was from Galway. I think Ollie Horgan felt that Sligo were the best team the first 10 minutes, and Galway the best team the last 10, and in between they were quite even. But even so, Galway did have the better clear cut opportunity in the
Yeah.
game. So I might be a little bit disappointed it didn't nick the win here. Sligo, I think Sligo will be happy enough to take the point after winning at home to Pats there and 2 clean sheets in a row. I think it's a big thing for them because they started to leak goals. So they would have been reasonably happy with the point, I think, at Eamon DC Park against Galway. But yeah, it's amazing. 15 games in and 8 goals scored, 7 conceded. It's every week it seems to get more
Oh, again.
baffling in that sense, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Um, you know.
it's five no nos, 3-1 no one. They've had 5 no nos. They've had 3-1-0 wins themselves. They've had 2-1-0 defeats, and I think they beat Dundalk 2-0 away. So it's it's
So 10 of the 15 has been 0-0 or 1-0 basically.
yeah, and I think they lost 2-1 away to Waterford as well. So
Yeah.
it's
The biggest defeat was 2-0 against Bowes.
yeah, and their biggest win has been 2-0 away against Dundalk. So um, look, they are a hard team to beat, but they'll come away from this one wondering how they didn't pick up 3 points. Like that, we've seen Stephen Wild scored 2 great goals, one against Derry in the Brandywell,
Mm.
one against Shamrock Rovers at Tala. Um, took him well, took them brilliantly. 2 very similar goals, and then he's had a chance where McGinty's caught, comes for the ball, and he's beaten to it, and he flashes it over the bar, um, and then I think it was it him that won the header from the throw in that hit the bar,
I think that
beat
was Morris
McGinty.
Nugent with that one actually, but there was another one where he clips over, wasn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a wee bit more difficult than the
Yeah.
one that he volleyed over. I
Mm.
think it was coming across and the defender matches his run. So,
Yeah.
but then I think McGinty with a stinging save, stays near post as well. Can't quite mind who it was, but
Yeah.
um, I, I don't really think Sligo had that many clear cut chances. And where you said there was a chance near the end. Um, who was it was running through? Um, well, weary or
Or
something like
Wiru,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was running through and he got a toe and put it past Brendan Clark, but put it wide.
Mm.
And um, for Sligo, they both. I've heard John Russell say that he's absolutely delighted with the point because there's 2 clean sheets in a row for them. As you said, they'd been starting to leak goals. They've been picking up injuries, suspensions. Their squad was starting to get stretched. They've picked up 4 points now in the space of 4 days, and they'll be delighted. Like it's another point gained on Dundalk at the bottom. They'll be disappointed that maybe Drogheda have picked up that point away at Shelbourne, but I'm sure they just have to worry about themselves and pick up their own points and not worry about our teams. But um, yeah, I think both teams will be Galway probably more disappointed because they had the better chances. And they are a hard team to beat. They're going to be a hard team to beat. I don't see Galway being anywhere near the relegation places coming the end of the season. I think they'll have enough in them. They grind out a 1-0 win or a 0-0 draw when they really need it. Whereas I also think Sligo will have enough to keep away, but it's when they really need the results. It's can they produce that type of performance? Only time will tell as the season goes on. I think I read over the weekend John Russell saying that's Max Mata. I think we discussed it last week about him and McGinty. If we're going back, I think John Russell said that's Max Mata gone now. He's off on holidays for a couple of weeks and then he has to report back to Shrewsbury. But they still are hopeful that they can
Mm.
bring him back. Um, I don't think he'll be as big a loss this year as he was last year. I think Ellis Chapman has been the key man for them this year in terms of goals. So I think he's on loan as well. Don't know what his situation
They
is.
actually signed him. He was on loan initially, would you believe? It was weird.
Is
And
it?
then a week or two later, he was permanently signed, which is a strange way of
Right.
doing it. But yeah.
So that's a great
Mm.
that's a great move for them. Like he's hit the ground running. Scored 4 against Derry in pre-season, I think, and he's got 4 or 5 goals in
Mm.
already this season. And I think he's
Including the
been more.
recent winner against Pats at the showgrounds as well.
I think he's been more key to them this season than Max Mata is. Yeah, obviously John Russell and Sligo will probably do everything they can to bring Max Mata back because they'd rather obviously have him in their team than not have him in their team. And if he can take his break, go away, come back in July, and be revitalised, they go again, then it'll be great for Sligo. But seeing McGinty on on Friday night, and although he got caught out a couple of times and got away with it, but he did make a couple of crucial saves as well, and it just shows you how key he is as well. And I think they need to hang on to him more than possibly need to hang on to Max Mata.
Yeah, Tallaght Stadium finished Shamrock Rovers 2, St. Patrick's Athletic 2, Aaron Green on 4, Turner on 23, Cleary on 60, and Mealy on 64. And there was definitely a manager sacking bounce, as I call it here in this game, JP. Pat's complete style of play was different. They played two up front for a start with Keishan and Mealy, and they played a box midfield. So Lennon and Bulger were at the base, Kavanagh and Forrester were just ahead. And they completely changed their style. Funnily enough, the goal they gave away was kind of from that kind of passive style at the back a little bit. Surprisingly, Kavanagh gave it to Green though, but Green took it brilliantly, to be fair to him. In defence of Kavanagh, I have to say, after that, every opportunity he was looking to get on the ball and make things happen. He didn't go hiding, and he obviously set up from the free kick, Turner's goal, and actually should have set up another goal, which Turner should have scored again actually later on. But in the first, let's say 20 minutes, Rogers made some very good saves to kind of keep Rovers at bay, because if Rovers got a second then they probably go on and win the game. But Green and Kenny were causing serious problems, and they feel they should have got a second goal. Pats were trying to come to terms defensively with the new change of system, I think, but they got to grips on it, particularly later on in the match. And ultimately, I do think a draw was a fair result. However, you didn't see it, unfortunately, because it wasn't in the highlights, but there was a goal scored later on where Poles, in my opinion, makes a hash of it, and the referee deems it a foul by Conor Keeley. Mealy actually bundled the ball into the net, and that was near the end. It would have been 3-2 to Pats, and I think...
was it fair? Was it similar to the one he made against Waterford?
It was where was it? I'm trying to think now. Was it a corner free kick or cross or whatever? It was crossed in anyway. It might have been a corner, and he just went to catch. He was kind of going backwards, and Keeley was kind of standing there, but he kind of ran into Keeley more than anything. And even at that, wasn't massive contact, and he dropped the ball. Keeley isn't coming into him, if you like, and he drops it, and there was a bit of a scramble. Amelia did put it in the net, and I think even Shamrock Rovers fans will probably think that they got away with one there. But as I said, a draw overall was probably a fair result. And I think from Rovers' point of view, though, to see Jack Byrne come onto the pitch with 20 minutes to go and completely dominate the last 20 minutes is a good sign for them, despite the result. He really did. You look at him there and you go, oh yeah, forgot about him. Graham Burke as well. So we know they're missing a lot of players, but Dara Burns came on as well. And if they just get down to a situation, I think, where they've got 3 or 4 lads even missing through injury, I still think they're favourites, for the league, if you know what I mean. But they'll be disappointed to pick up 1 point, I suppose, from 6 in Tallaght Stadium in the last 2 games. But to be honest, if Pats didn't sack Daly, I'd say Rovers would have won the game, to be honest with you. But there was because it took them a while to come to grips as well with what Pats were trying to do, because it wasn't what they were expecting, clearly. And obviously Sean O'Connor was in the dugout for the game, and there was an element of gun-ho about it, which was a bit risky, especially in the first half. But they got away with it, and they got a good point. And, as I said, Rovers will be disappointed. Pats will be just happy to get something out of the game. And I have to say, special shout-out in fairness to Mason Melia, because apart from the goal, for a 16-year-old, he did very well against the likes of Pico Lopez. He's going to be a really good player, I think, for the future. But, he did very, very well in the game.
I think the only way they play Shamrock Rovers, Keith, is to take them on. I think if you sit back and you let them dominate the ball, they'll eventually pick you off. So they will. And like I seen that Derry done it to them down in Tallaght and got a 2-2 draw. Very unlucky not to come away with the win. For 55 minutes in the Brandywell, Derry done the same. Couldn't get that goal. But when Rovers got the first and a quick fire second, took the game, and that's what you said. If Rovers had got the second before Pats, they'd have went on to win the game comfortably. Waterford on Monday took a game to them, won the game 3-1. Could have been more. And I think that's the only way to play Shamrock Rovers.
And especially, JP, if they're missing so many players as such, you know what I mean? I know players came on, but their starting midfield was Poom, Nugent, and Young Noonan. Now, they're good players. But you're missing, there's no Jack Byrne at the start there. There's no Gary O'Neill. There's no Richie Towell. Who else am I missing? No Aaron McAneff. Even Graham Burke. I know he plays higher up. So you look at that and you kind of go, you have to take them on while they're a little bit vulnerable. Lee Grace is missing as well.
Yeah, you have to. Obviously, there's risk with it because you leave yourself exposed at the other end. But when they're missing them, the players that you've named there, go for it. You have to go for it. Like, you don't get the rewards if you don't take the risk. But at least that you can come off a pitch and say you left your all out there. And um, I was just surprised at the two goals that Shamrock Rovers conceded. Like, the first one was a free kick to the back post, and nobody tracked Luke Turner, and it was a great header down in the bottom corner. And then the other one was ball over the top, and Pico Lopez lost the flight of it, which is surprisingly for him because he is usually mopping those up. And look, Leon Poles, he slips, and if he doesn't slip, he probably doesn't get there before the goal scorer, but he probably gets there on time to maybe get a block on
Cover.
it.
Yeah.
Cover, like when he slips in, he can't get himself up to get the block. But he gets up, but he doesn't get up enough to get close enough to stop a ball going over the top of him. But Johnny Kenny again wasn't he? He was again on the score sheet. Or
No,
was he?
actually, it was Aaron Green on the score sheet, and
Aaron
clearly,
Green.
clearly, but
Um,
Kenny played well in the game.
as
Him and
well.
Green's movement that first 20 minutes was superb, and Pats were a bit exposed, like with the change of system a bit. But they'll be disappointed because they'll feel when they were on top, they weren't clinical enough. And they've done that a few times this season. I spoke about down in Dalymount Park against Bowes and against Pats actually at Richmond Park in the first half. And as you say, the goal they gave away, and they conceded another free kick later on, which Turner probably should score as well.
Yeah.
But I think Kenny Cunningham made rightfully in the commentary, which I thought was odd when they were doing it as well. The position that Brandon Kavanagh was in to take the free kick, to have four on the wall, essentially five with the, as he called it, the draft
Yeah,
exclusion,
because
was bizarre.
it was quite a deep free kick, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It wasn't like it was on the edge of the box. It was
yeah,
like maybe 30, 40 yards out.
yeah.
Which you're putting four on the wall there, and you're probably asking for cover because you're leaving yourself very short then when the
Mm.
ball goes into the box. Maybe even if you don't win the first header, it's um and the ball's ricocheting about. There's the bodies there, they prevent the ball from going in the net. But for Pats, it was a well worked free kick. Kavanagh just floated it in, and Turner attacked it brilliantly. I think that's 3, 4, 5 goals he's got already this season. Like, and
3 goals, yeah, and he could have had a few more easily, to be fair to him.
yeah,
Mm,
no, and he looks a good find. I know they got him from Cliftonville in January, and
mm,
he looks a decent player. And
mm.
I heard the commentator saying when he scored the goal that he came through the Shamrock Rovers Academy. So I'm sure he would have loved scoring that goal again, especially at Tala.
But yeah, exactly. But the funny thing is, Noonan plays in a free for Rovers for Cleary's goals. It's a carbon copy. The only difference
Yeah, it
is
was.
Pats have three in the wall.
It was. It was an
Yeah.
absolute carbon copy. I mean, when I watched the highlights back on Friday night, a commenter on that, it was the exact same goal that Pats had conceded, the exact same goal that they just scored, or not just scored, but has scored earlier in the game, and then the same end of the pitch. So
Yeah.
yeah, look, Pats will be satisfied with that, as you said, like the sacked manager bunch. Um, Rovers will be disappointed. You say 1 point from 6 in 2 home games, where they would have been probably looking for a team of their ambitions. They'd been looking at 6 points from 6, but they'll not be too downhearted about it because they're still only was it 3 points off the
Mm.
top. Um, and they've got Dundalk on Friday night before you have Derry. So look, they'll be looking at 3 points on Friday night again. Oh, I think it's Dundalk away and Derry at home. They'll be
Yeah.
definitely looking at 3 points from the Dundalk game. And Pats have a big double header, as mentioned about Derry having a big double header, Pats and Rovers. Both away. Pats have a big double header, both at home.
Mm.
Derry and Shelbourne. So they'll be looking at them and thinking, you know what? It'll be interesting to see whether they have a new manager appointed by then. A certain Mr. Kenny. It'll be interesting to see if he's in charge for them 2 games. How quick can he stamp his authority on that team, his ideas, etc. Um, so it's an interesting few days ahead for St. Pat's, and if they go there and pick up 6 points in them 2 games, it puts them right in the mix for the top four because I think nobody's rolling them out for the top four, but I think if they go on the same type of run that they'd been on under John Daly, they could very easily find themselves caught adrift and relying on the cup one. They get them into Europe. So these are 2 crucial games for them where Shamrock Rovers will see the Dundalk game first of all as crucial, and then they can focus on Derry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose the reason why it's so tight as well is because Shelbourne have won one of their last eight. They drew 1-1 at home to Drogheda United. They're still top of the league, just about a point above Derry City. As you mentioned, three ahead of Shamrock Rovers, nine ahead of Pats, who are in seventh. You know what I mean? Anyway, it's still hard to understand. They played 16 matches as well, but they drew 1-1 with Drogheda United. Piro's goal in 3 minutes from a free kick was a good header, and Sean Boyd come off the bench once again to equalise actually for Shelbourne against Drogheda this season. And they generally have a good record. They have a very good record at Talca Park against Drogheda, but they couldn't get the 3 points here. I mentioned that Boyd came off the bench. He didn't come off the bench in this game. He started in this game, but came off the bench at Weavers Park. But 1-1 draw.
Off a bench at Weaver's Park got the equaliser, came off a bench at the Brandywell and got the equaliser. Like he's becoming a reputation of a super sub, isn't
He is, yeah. So be glad to get one from the beginning
he?
from this game as
Yeah.
such. But yeah, 1-1 draw for Shelbourne. They'd be disappointed as such, but Drogheda would be delighted with that performance, and that point extends their lead, so to speak, over Dundalk. They're 6 points ahead of Dundalk now.
Yeah, and like to be absolutely delighted with to be disappointed having gone ahead so early that
Mm.
they didn't go on to get a second, because I know Damien Duff absolutely got ripped on these players after the game about their application, etc. Went 1-0 up within 90 seconds, and Franz Piro again, like I think he got his first goal against Derry. And he'd been struggling up to that point, hadn't he? Really, but that's 4 goals now. He has it's another three since that Derry. Sometimes that's what strikers need. They just need a goal to kick start, and what a find from Athlone, because it was them who brought him the League of Ireland, and Drogheda took a chance on him this year. And I keep saying, like, he impressed me last year in the FAI Cup, even though he was feeding off scraps. He didn't stop running. He made it difficult for the Derry defenders. And Drogheda have taken a chance on him this year. And at the minute, he's reaping the benefits. Like, he scored the equaliser against Derry. I think he gave them a lead. He gave them a lead, obviously, against Shelbourne on Friday night. Was it the first goal against Dundalk he
Dundalk as
scored
well,
on
yeah,
Monday?
yeah.
So he's scoring the crucial goals.
Mm.
It's either the equalising goal late on, or it's the first goal in the game that he's getting. And he's a big asset to them. Sean Boyd as well, like, is a big asset to Shelbourne. I think he's 4 goals this season too.
Mm.
Two of them, at least two of them from the bench. And late equalisers that, but Shelbourne will be disappointed. Like, they've started the season brilliantly. 7 unbeaten, wasn't it? Drew 1-1-6. It's 1 win and 9 now since they lost that first game. And
16 games gone, right? 28 points, and that's
yeah,
the league leaders. It's a bit
yeah,
mental, isn't it?
it's mental. There's and I
And it's
touched
no
on it.
disrespect to Shelbourne, by the way. It's just what it is. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know.
Touched on it last week or the week before, that we could see the lowest points tally to win the league this year. Um, and I still believe that. Like, as you say, 16 games gone. If you're in one of the European teams, and the league leaders have 28 points. Shelbourne, they'll be looking at this league table. I'm sure Damien Duff, he says he doesn't look at the league table, but I'm sure he's looking at it at this point, from this point of view, as we've 28 points, we've one win in the last 9 games, we're still top of the league. If we'd picked up 2 or 3 more wins in that 9, um, we'd be out of sight. Basically, and they would be. And people would be teams would be finding it difficult to try and reel them in it, if they had at this stage of the season, if they were that point so far in front.
But
But
are they just doing as well as they can do? Pretty much, it's just they happen to be
I think
sitting at the
so.
top of the table. Do you know that kind of way?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they are, like, but
Mm.
they will be sitting looking at it and thinking, right, from the international break, we haven't really been at it.
Yeah.
We're top of the league. How much better could it have been? But at the same time, they'll be looking at, well, you know what? We weren't expected to be top of the league at this stage of the season, so let's take it, and let's see what we can get now for the next 5 6 weeks. That takes us into the European football, where they'll get a break for a month from domestic football, and be
Mm.
able to concentrate on something different. So they'll be looking at the games ahead. Like, I think who they got for Pats on Friday, haven't they?
They've
And
Pats on Monday
Pats on Monday,
and
sorry, and
who've they got on
Waterford are home
Friday?
on Friday, which is um Waterford are in great form, aren't they? So, they
I can't
um,
go against Waterford at the moment.
why would you like but this is like they've got two big fixtures coming up now for them, one at home and one away, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
um, uh, look, they'll take it. They'll take it where they are. Um, and I know Duff. It's a few weeks in a row now, Keith, where he's dug the players out. For the performance levels and
I think the one thing about it was the interview he said quickly on that was that kind of the players were going to go out and have a few drinks, but it's like they were allowed. But if I was them, I wouldn't, you know. But I think sometimes, yeah, I think sometimes that's what you need as well. I think just to kind of
yeah, never
forget
in
it
that
and
camp.
just kind of blow off a bit of steam. It's no harm every now and again, like you know, for
In that
professional
kind of
players
run,
even to do that.
never in that kind of run. Maybe that's what they need to sort of
Yeah.
get out of it. But at the same time, it's like 2 or 3 weeks in a row now where he's called them out publicly. I don't know. Maybe does he call them out every week? People that listen to him more often will be able to let us know on that. But it's it's how like he even made the comment saying that he smelt it after 10 seconds that they weren't going to be at it. and,
Should have
and
told
I'm
the
like,
keeper to go down injured then.
I'm hanging myself laughing reading that comment, and
I know.
it's just some of the comments. It's just so off the cuff that um, it's just entertainment for the
It is
neutrals, I
actually.
think.
Yeah.
But no, look, Shelbourne, they finished fourth last year. Pats won the cup to get into Europe on the back of that. Their aim this year would have been to build on that and maybe go one better and finish third. The fact that after 16 games, uh, nearly the halfway stage, that they're sitting top, they will see that as progress. They will probably understand that, and Duff keeps saying it, that it's Derry and Rovers are the favourites. He keeps saying that. I think there's a wee bit of mind games in that, but it is probably a wee bit of truth in it as well. Like, and he's just trying to maybe take a bit of pressure off his players. Maybe he recognises
Hmm.
that they're maybe struggling a wee bit. They cope with the top of the league pressure. Who knows? But I think I think if they're going to continue this run, they have to keep the likes of Sean Boyd and Mark Coyle fit. And but for Drogheda, they'll be delighted with that point. It's a late winner against Dundalk, and they've gained another point on Dundalk, where
Not
they went
only
in.
that, but they're closer to eighth place than they are to 10th as well.
Yeah, they went in the Monday evening's game or lunchtime game with the possibility that if they lost it, they'd be bottom of the table come the end of the 90 minutes.
Mm.
And they now find themselves 6 points clear of the bottom, and they've moved within 3 points of Sligo as well, or stayed within 3 points of Sligo, and that for them will be more crucial than that for them will not more crucial. Obviously, you want if you don't finish eighth, then you want to finish ninth, because then you get a second bite at it. And but for them, they'll not want to go too far behind Sligo because they'll be looking at Galway and Waterford, who that was two of the teams that were maybe expecting to be down there, along with Drogheda and Dundalk, and they're not at the minute. You're potentially maybe looking, well, if both don't get the recruitment right in the summer, that they could maybe get sucked into it. Sligo, um, are another team that if they don't get the injuries or their squad gets stressed any further, they could get they could get sucked in, and Drogheda will want to keep within the coattails of them teams. You'd expect Pats eventually will, depending on the appointment, will push away from the bottom half of the table and start to compete for the European places. But yeah, even though they'd be disappointed that they didn't win it, they'd be delighted that they didn't lose it, because I think late on Shelbourne were starting to push for the winner, and Drogheda did well. They hang on in the end.
Finally finished Waterford FC 4, Dundalk 1 at the RSC, and CJP's laughing already because I predicted it would be 1-0 to Dundalk. But yeah, brilliant performance once again from Waterford. Their third win on the bounce. They're only their second home win of the season, actually, and Asamoah hat-trick for a start. I mean, 5 goals this season. He's got serious pace, but he can obviously finish as well. And it's the first hat-trick from a Waterford player since 2003, which is some feat for Asamoah. 2003, 21 years when you think about it. Alan Riley got a hat-trick, but 2 of them were penalties. So, you know what I mean? From play, look, he looked like he was excellent in this game. The goals, the first goal, I don't know what Dundalk are at defensively in the first minute, but they seem to be all over the place there. But the first goal, he's running in from the left, shows a lot of pace, composed finish.
Started with a fair kick out from the goalkeeper.
Yeah, and the Dundalk defence essentially weren't set, were they, for it, like, you know. But second goal, Parsons does well in fairness on the right, and Asamoah gets into a centre forward position and finishes well. But the third goal is probably the best goal. That's a player playing with confidence. You know, he lobs the keeper with power.
Yeah,
Um, to give them their third goal, a fourth goal of the game at the time. Paddison scored and Benson had equalised earlier in the game for Dundalk. And I suppose quickly from Dundalk's point of view, you know, Noel King came in, little bounce. You know, looks like they're back to type again, really. Like, they're in big trouble, in my opinion. Strangely, though, the Dundalk supporters group put out, did you see that? The open
yeah.
letter for Brian Ainscough asking for the removal of Noel King. Now, maybe Noel King isn't the right appointment, but it's still a bit weird, isn't it, after a couple of games to be sending an open letter asking for the removal of the manager? I think they can send an open letter, maybe complain about other things within the regime, maybe. But to be specifically going on that, did you think that was a bit odd?
It was very, very odd, but I think that was a bit of a reaction right to the news that had broke over the weekend, Keith.
Mm.
Because I think Dundalk supporters are still of the belief that they could attract Stephen Kenny to the club. And I know when they got rid of Stephen O'Donnell, there was not discussions, but there was um,
Talk, let's say.
queries
Yeah.
of whether Stephen Kenny would be prepared to come back. Now, when I saw this statement, I thought it was a bit odd, but I think to me, I think it's a wee bit reactionary to
Mm.
the news that Stephen Kenny's potentially going to some pats, and I think that's why they've called for the removal
Mm.
of Noel King. Um, I also don't believe Noel King's in there to be the manager. I think he's in there because he's got the pro license. I assume he's got the pro license because he managed the Shelbourne women's team
Mm.
in Europe, and I assume that the rules are say in terms of UEFA, the
Mm.
rules are the same in the women's game as it is in the men's game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is now. Brian Gartland came out over the weekend to say he doesn't know how much longer he can be in
Mm.
the coaching team. So because he's got a role upstairs and so does Liam Burns. So it's just a complete mess. The minute Brian Ainscough has come out and said that he's got this investor and that investor ready to invest in the club. And well, where are they?
Mm.
Where are they? You've said this when you took over in November.
Mm.
You said it at the fans forum a few weeks ago,
I
and still,
thought I was just a bit suspicious when he came in, though, in the first place, because I seen the big press conference when he was there at Kerry FC at the very start and outline all these plans, what they're going to do over the next 5 years. But then a year later, you're leaving the club, like, and it just seems a bit. Do you know what I mean? Kerry aren't exactly
yeah,
worse off with him gone. It's like he's
yeah,
come in to Dundalk hoping he'd get investors in, and it hasn't actually happened. Like, it's a bit like getting the keys to a house and worrying about the mortgage later or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit. It's all over the place. It is all over the place, and I do have sympathy with the Dundalk fans for that.
yeah. Yeah, I under, but calling for the removal of the manager, I've definitely never seen that
And he's not
before.
going to do it anyway. So,
He's not. And I do take their point that
mm,
without the fans, there would be no club,
yeah.
and he's just basically the custodian for the
Mm,
fans, etc. And yeah, he is. But at the end of the day, he's if he walks away tomorrow, who's going to fund the club? And that's what they have to try and remember. I don't think he will, having done what he done to resigning a Kerry to to taking over. And but he said November that the investors coming in. He said it a few weeks ago. He said it again over the weekend. I think it's just all bluff at the minute. They
mm.
try and keep the fans on side, um, but I go back to my point. I think the fan statement was more of a reactionary to the news of Stephen Kenny's going to St. Pat's, and I think they're still hopeful that Stephen Kenny, if he was offered it, would come back to Dundalk. And um,
Not in the current conditions. He was never
I
going to
I
go to
don't
Dundalk.
I don't think it. I don't think it, but I
Mm,
think maybe the fans believe it. They're kind of the case. Well, if you don't ask him, don't
mm,
get. And was he really asked when O'Donnell left? Was he really asked?
mm.
Did they come back? Um, but they did. I honestly, when I think they said in the statement that the process to appoint the new manager didn't take its natural course.
Mm.
I think it would be true because Noel King was. I think O'Donnell was gone, and within 3 or 4 days, Noel King was in the dugout, which was said at the
It
time they thought
sounded
it was
like to me as well, like his
thought it
friends,
was a foot and a half.
That Brian rang up an old mate. Would you mind
Yeah,
coming in and give us a dig out type thing rather than
yeah,
something concrete to
yeah,
build
yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Give me a
on?
wee bit more time to find the right man to take over because
Mm,
I haven't got the money that I said I did, basically. And I need somebody to help me out and until I find people they help me out and um and I did say Keith at the time it was either going to be a great appointment or a disastrous appointment. And I think there were 3 or 4 games in and it's turning out to be a disastrous appointment. And
mm,
but that's taking nothing away from Waterford. They were absolutely brilliant. It's 3 wins on the spin for them now. That's something that Derry City, who are second in the league, haven't done this season, has won 3 games in a row.
mm,
Um, and one of them was away at Tala.
mm.
So
They did
Waterford's
very
away.
well actually, considering because I thought there might be a bit of pressure coming onto the game. They've gone to Tal and won 3-1. Now they're playing the team bottom at home. That's another pressure, if you like. You know what I mean? Kind of, oh no, we're
I
really
think
expected to win this, and they dealt with it magnificently. To be fair.
I think there would have been more pressure on them, Keith, if they hadn't won at Tala. I think because they'd went to Tala, they'd played so well. I think it was the first ever League One against the Shamrock
Yeah.
Rovers first team at Tala.
Mm.
I know they probably played the Shamrock Rovers B team in the first division years. But that was their first one against Shamrock Rovers in the Premier Division at Tala. And I think they got a lot of confidence from that performance because it wasn't just a smash and grab. It was they absolutely deserved it. They could have won by more, and it was just about applying the same performance levels against Dundalk, and they knew that the performance levels that they produced, they beat Shamrock Rovers. They probably, and it's no disrespect to Dundalk, they probably only needed to apply half of that performance level against Dundalk for them to come out with the win, and they maintained it. Asamoah, now they Monroe was a goalkeeper that started the season, and then he was dropped for Shelby, and he's now going to be the goalkeeper for the next 9 games, at least the next 9 games, and we obviously know the fallout of his red card at Drogheda has resulted in him being suspended for 10 games, and probably rightly so. For the discriminatory language that he used towards official. Um, but if he had used that discriminatory language towards anybody, you would expect him to receive that type of ban. But Dundalk or Waterford, I think you just touched on there. That was their second home win of the season. They drew 2 hours. One was, I think, Galway and Shelbourne.
Mm.
And they're top of the table for away form, and there's on like sixth or seventh for home form. So they'll be more than delighted they get the win there. A great performance from them.
Yeah, Keith Long will be absolutely delighted with that. We'll leave it there, JP. Guys at home, let us know what you think in the comments. Check out all the other videos as well and subscribe to the channel. Cheers, JP.